Welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Diane Dixon, who is a candidate for Assemblywoman of the 74th District. Well, Diane, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Lisa, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. I'm honored.
Well, it's such an interesting, time right now, as you know, people are running for different offices and well, we don't know you, so I'm hoping that you're able to give us a little background about yourself.
I'm delighted to. First of all, I love Laguna Woods. In the primary, I walked many of the neighborhoods, and I hadn't been to the village or the Woods Village community for many years, and it was just a pleasure to meet the wonderful people and walk the streets and just admire just the beautiful community that it is. So I'm delighted to learn more about Laguna Woods. I've done a little bit of homework prior to our talk today, so I have a sense of what's on the minds of many people. During the primary, there was a forum. I did a primary forum down in Laguna Woods in one of the community centers. So I just have a real good feeling of the people in Laguna Woods, and I look forward to getting to know them better and understanding what their needs are.
So tell me, what have you been doing up to this point?
In my life. You want the long version or the short version?
The short version, because we want to get to the question.
All right. I worked in business for a Fortune 300 company for 30 years. I more or less retired from that, but I wasn't done yet. And my husband and I had bought a home in Newport Beach, and I always had done government relations for companies. And so are from the company I work for. So I decided to throw my hat in the ring, and I ran unopposed in my first race in 2014. I was mayor during that first four-year term. I ran for re-election in 2018, and I was mayor in 2019. So I've been in public office for 6 years, serving on our cities and as chair of our finance committee. So I know a lot about city finances, city operations. And what occurred to me in November of 2018 when the seat flipped, and I began to see as a local official, as a local city council official, our city staff giving the city council all these new modifications, amendments to our municipal code. I'm saying, what's driving this? What's going on? Well, something had happened in Sacramento where there were one party who is now super dominating legislative policy making and lawmaking, and it was affecting local government, local control. So historically, as a charter city, as a general law city, cities councils make policy for their cities. That literally has changed overnight. In the last 2 years, with a super majority of one party, we have one party making policies, not for the whole state, for cities. And as a city council person, I'm saying, how can this be happening? So I said, someone's got to speak up for the cities and the people who represent these cities who do not know. If I were just an average citizen, I would not know the gravity of the power that's shifted now to Sacramento. You wouldn't know on an everyday basis, but I'll tell you a little bit more as we go forward. And so I said, who's running? And I love my job on the city. It's not a job, my volunteer role as a council person in Newport Beach. And I said, who's going to run? No one's going to run. Well, I will run. I have been elected twice by 30,000 people. 30,000 people have cast their vote for Diane Dixon. I believe in fiscal responsibility, public safety. We're in a COVID. That's probably the #1 issue. And business, I am pro-business. I'm pro-local control, and some issues that may not relate to Laguna Woods, but education is really on the front burner issues that people care a lot about. Young families care because curriculum is being designed and passed as policy in Sacramento. It's a real big issue. Criminal law, public safety. I've been married 45 years to my husband, who's a career prosecutor in Los Angeles, in charge of major crimes. And then down here in Orange County, works special counsel to Todd Spitzer. And our daughter is a prosecutor. So public safety, safe communities is obviously a really important priority. And that affects all of our communities. And I hear that all around this district. Crime is a problem. So I decided someone had to do it, and I am running because I believe that the current representative in the legislature does not fully represent the needs of this district. And I'm happy to explain that as we go forward.
Thank you. You know, you're right. It is very important that we have safety in our communities. And so when we talk about that, you know, there's an awful lot of things that are going on currently. But before we go into that, I would like to talk a little bit about some of the propositions that are happening right now. So for instance, let's take a look at, you know, protecting the taxpayers. What opposing Prop 15 and 19. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, it is so important, and thank you for bringing it up. People, and particularly your listeners, this is so important to all of your listeners who have been paying a property tax under the current property tax system since Prop 13 was enacted in 1978, that froze property tax assessments and to increase at 1% a year. Proposition 15 on the November ballot would do away with the protections that businesses and residents ultimately pay for. But how it will affect, well, right now, Prop 15 says we'll split the tax roll. So there's commercial business tax roll and residential tax roll. Right now, they're combined. What will happen to small business? And people will say, well, I don't own a small business. How will that affect me? Every small business, restaurant, shoe store, beauty salon, real estate office, any company, and it's usually small business who are tenants in a commercial property area, will see their property tax bill that they pay to their landlord, who has just received a gigantic, enormous property tax increase. That landlord has to pass that additional cost to their tenants. We will see massive business foreclosures. So we've got, just going through this COVID, we want to get businesses, as you said earlier, my economic recovery plan, we need to get our this is small business. This is mom and pop. We need to get them back operating. And with Prop 15, it would wipe it out. It is tragic. And so how it also affects residents, so their cost of goods, their consumer good prices would have to go up for those businesses to pay their property taxes that have escalated one big jump from 1978 to 2020. It is an enormous financial impact, but also because of the supermajority in the legislature, where one party can do whatever it wants, just you wait. In a couple of years, they'll go after changing the whole baseline on residential. Mark my words, if Proposition 15 passes, because the legislature has the power to tweak anything that passes at state. So we are on a slippery slope.
Right. So not only 15, but also 19. So you're asking the voters, or letting them know that they should be voting no on 15 and 19?
Yes, Proposition 19 is kind of complicated, but basically it would prohibit the transfer of property from a parent to an heir. And you could transfer it, but the value, the property tax value would go to current market rates. And that would be devastating to the heir that inherits that property. And it does have one good thing. So it will be confusing, I'm sure, in the media and the advertising about it, because it allows, if you move from one county to another, from Orange County to San Diego County, you can maintain that property tax base from that home. That's a good thing, because portability does exist in some counties. This would make that statewide. But the transfer tax is prohibitive. It's enormous. It would be devastating to families. And so I recommend vote no on 19.
Okay. And then real quickly, let's talk about the repealing of AB5.
I'm happy to. When I get to Sacramento, I will vote to repeal. I'll introduce the bill. It is a nightmare law. I'm sure many of your listeners are familiar with how the legislature, again, through a supermajority, and incidentally, the incumbent assemblywoman voted yes on AB5 all the way through the process. So how does it affect everybody who live in Laguna Woods? Well, your hairdresser, your healthcare worker, your gym owner, your gym trainer, all of these people are being forced to work for a larger company. And it really is a union organizing drive. Now, I'm not against unions. It's just that people should have the right to work, California is a right to work state, and to force people in order to earn their livelihood as a gym trainer, as a healthcare worker, as a manicurist, that they have to work for another company. I mean, California is was a state of innovation, and people, that's where the gig worker, the Uber driver and the Lyft driver and everybody else, from families, mothers, fathers who want to work part-time to have home care, for elder care, for childcare, it wipes out independent work. I mean, what are they thinking of? And the legislator in San Diego, who is still an advocate, a fierce advocate for this kind of control, is a former Teamsters official. I mean, so this is all about union organizing. So they go into force everybody to work for a company, and then go into the company and organize. I'm strongly opposed. And it's a national embarrassment to California to pass such a law. And the horrible thing is that some congressional representatives of California have introduced the same, Harley Ruda has introduced the same bill in Congress. It is devastating. It's a century backwards. And the independence that we all enjoy and depend on, and the benefits of that fulfillment of, you could be an Uber driver, or you can do whatever you want and fill up your day and work 40 hours, work 20 hours, work 80 hours. I know Uber drivers who work long hours. So it just isn't right in a free country to force people to have to work for a company. It's just on that basic simple, it shouldn't be. So yes, I will introduce a bill or vote to repeal it. Absolutely.
Okay. And then just last statement real quick.
Just a pleasure to talk with you, Lisa, and to talk with your viewers and the important residents of Laguna Woods. I know you've been all quarantined for 4 or 5 months. I know you all want to get to your gyms, and you're so healthy minded, and you want to get out and exercise. Believe me, if I am elected, we will get this state back in working order and get our businesses up and running. And we'll do it safely. Absolutely. I want you to be safe. I promise I won't put any kind of COVID health facility in the middle of your community. I will protect you. I will be responsive to your needs, have an office down in Laguna Woods to really serve you, because senior needs are really, really important. So basically why I'm running, we can't have a one party decide all of our public policy. It's not democracy. And if it were the other way around, I would say the same thing. One party, you don't get debate, you don't get the tug and pull of making good policy. And this is bad for our state. There's a long list: public safety, loosening criminal justice laws. We need a Republican in this office to best represent business, families, education. There's no choice in education. They want to get rid of charter schools for those people who have grandchildren or children who are in charter schools. They want to get rid of charter schools. I'm pro-business. Let's get this state moving again. And I'd be proud to represent the people of Laguna Woods. So thank you. And thank you, Lisa, for the time. I love it. I'll do it anytime.
All right. Thank you so much. And we'll be right back after this.